Let me introduce my guest, and we're going to go straight into it. His name, again, is Johan Calleman, one of my favorite people. He's the author of the Mayan calendar and the transformation of consciousness. Actually, he's got 3 books. It's kind of a series, all on the Mayan calendar. The Mayan time sciences describes energy changes in cosmic history and is our most valuable tool for charting the future. Well, folks, isn't that what I just said? I mean, this is what's so cool about this. His site, and I encourage you to follow along if you'd like, it's Calleman.com. That's CALLEMAN.com. And he's got a wealth of information there. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Oneness Festival as well. And I have a special interest in June 2nd. So let's bring him on now from Stockholm, Sweden. Carlos, are you there? Carl, are you there?
Yes, I
am. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on it.
Carl, I'm going to let you do plenty of talking.
Okay.
Yeah, so please, just from the monologue, go ahead and make some comments now, if you would.
Yeah, right. Well, just to begin with your references to ancient texts and modern science, I think that in ancient times people had a holistic view of the world, and so people did not separate out what was spirituality and science and so forth. It wasn't that fragmented as it has become. So this is the reason I think we have to go, in certain ways, go beyond modern science if we really are to understand what is happening in the world. Yet I do feel that modern science, it still has the highest kind of accuracy when it comes to facts of all kinds. And so I think we should incorporate those facts. But I think we also today we have to sort of look in a broader, in a more holistic view, where the whole spiritual aspects of reality are not shut out, which is actually what happens automatically whenever you go into a purely academic framework of understanding scientific data. So this is what led me, being a trained scientist, led me into the Mayan calendar. It was the fact that in my own schooling, I could not accommodate for the fact that the world was not just a place of accidents.
Yes.
How my own life turned out to be. It was like a sequence of all kinds of guiding, meaningful events, and how could I accommodate that with my scientific training that said basically that everything here is an accident. And so this is what led me into studying the Mayan calendar, and that's through that kind of unification of my own previous training as a scientist, it gave me a way of looking at the world in a holistic way. And so I think if we are really to arrive at a worldview that is not fragmented, a worldview that unifies it all, then we'll have to go back to certain ancient influences. And one of the most important ones is, I believe, the Mayan calendar. That's the influence that accounts for the whole phenomenon of time. And so it's been because of the fact that this calendar was burnt by the Spanish conquistadors 500 years ago. It's sort of a piece of the puzzle that was lost and fell under the table, if you will, and it's been lying there for about 500 years, and now it's coming up to the surface. And it's like, if you look as a puzzle, it's one of those pieces that sort of frames the seal. The frames, it seals the frame, and then once you have sealed the frame, you have all kinds of pieces of the puzzle that you may put in there, and the Mayan calendar, for this reason, because it's in a sense it's sort of the last piece of the puzzle impossible to seal the frame. For that reason, it provides an enormously important influence for anybody today who would like to unify everything that they know.
Carl, this is... Sorry, folks. I'm going to do my best. Carl, this is why I think the Mayan calendar is so important, and other historical data too, folks, that where science stops in many ways is historical cyclical events. Now, that's not always the case because, you know, I give a heavy emphasis to our paleontologists and paleoclimatologists and so forth, such as tree rings, lake bottom, and ice core samples, yes. But there is so much more than just the mere factual evidence of cyclical events. And I think that in part is the emotions and the transition of living entities such as humans that I think the Mayans capture. For example, Carl, right now, I can easily prove to you that we are in record-breaking times of weather phenomena, natural occurrences, but to people who don't have a foundation of a historical background such as what the Mayan calendar presents, might get a little spooked or think there's something wrong. But what it does for me is it actually gives me peace and really more of a sense of predictability and order. Carl, what do you think of that idea?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of, what should I say, seemingly chaotic events going on in the world on very many levels. And, you know, if you just look upon it from what should I say?
Short-sightedness.
Superficial level, maybe.
Yes.
I mean, it seems like meaningless events. It seems like some of them maybe even be catastrophes, like the tsunami that we saw earlier this year. There's been all kinds of warfares and terrorism and stuff like that. And from unless you have the kind of holistic worldview, this just seems like meaningless catastrophes. And but in the Mayan calendar perspective, I mean, events may still be tragic, but it's just that we see the tragedy as a spin-off of a much larger evolutional consciousness. Yes. that leads ultimately to peace. That really has a direction towards a world like an enlightened world in only a few years of time. And so it just shifts all kinds of events, including whatever disturbances there might be in the climate at the present time. It shifts the understanding of those events into a meaningful whole pattern.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Carl, I am so grateful to you specifically, but many people like you, but you, it's just, folks, this is just my opinion. I you know how we're attracted to certain methodologies and ways of thinking. Well, Johan Calleman does that for me, and I think he has the gift for many of you. I can tell by the feedback I get. And Carl, right now I'm looking at what you wrote about the cosmic time plan of December 4th, 2004. Now, as I understand it, that kind of was the takeoff point. But then we have this June 2nd event that's coming up. Now, again, folks, I can see how this might sound confusing to you, because here we are talking about record-breaking phenomena, solar activity that's off the charts, more than likely severe earthquakes within the next 90 days, strong speculation of something maybe going wrong with the Deep Impact project. But at the same time, Carl is going to lay out for us that really this is a pretty spectacular time. Carl, what is this time period, starting with December 4th, 2004, and then, of course, this point of June 2nd, here in the next few days?
Yeah. Well, you might say that the Mayan calendar organizes the evolution of the cosmos into 9 distinct levels, and each of these levels is what would be referred to like an underworld in Mayan terminology. And underworld, then, it doesn't mean below the surface of the earth. Rather, it means like down among us, so to speak, in contrast to the heavens, which is sort of what is influencing us in this. And so there are 9 distinct levels of consciousness, and each of those are developing certain kinds of phenomena, and each of them has a specific rhythm. And so at the present time, we are at the 8th level of these 9. So we're getting to the top of a cosmic pyramid. And this particular level of consciousness, it started to develop in January 5th, 1999, and it will be completed October 28th, 2011. And this is then the level of consciousness whose wave movement influences us the most dramatically, the most tangibly at the present time. And this kind of a wave movement, it operates through the effects of alternating energies of light and darkness. And these energies of light or darkness, you might look upon it as simply divine intelligence being emitted by a central creative principle at the heart of the universe. And this central creative principle, in the ancient Viking tradition, this was called Yggdrasil. In the Mayan tradition, it's called Hunabku. In the Vedic tradition, it is called Mulam, and they're all talking about the same thing, that what is referred to in the Jewish tradition as the tree of life, the cosmic world tree. And this is sort of a non-material phenomenon that encompasses the entire universe. And at the present time that we are at the 8th levels of evolution of consciousness, there is a speed up of the frequency with which these pulses are being emitted by this cosmic world tree. Now, as I said, this galactic underworld, this 8th level that we are currently in, it is made up from alternating energies of light and darkness. And what is in there is actually like 7 pulses of light and 6 pulses of darkness. And whenever there is a pulse of light, you might say that the incoming energies are being the most strong. And so then in those time periods we are sensing a greater, we have a greater experience of change in everything that is going on. Now, these are 7 pulses of light, and each of these pulses are ruling for a time period of 360 days. And what you were referring to there was that in December 4th last year, a new such pulse of light started to influence human consciousness on this planet. And we, since then, you might say that this incoming light has become more and more evident, more and more strong.
Yes.
And now we're getting to the sort of the peak event of this pulse of light, and this will happen on the days June 1st, June 2nd, in just next week.
Going back to June 8th of last year, Carl, matter of fact, I think I had you on the show, I think just 2 days before. I think it was June 6th I had you on.
No, yeah, a few days before anyway.
A few days before anyway. Remind us what occurred with this June 8th Venus transit, and does that have any influence with us today?
Yeah, right. Well, actually, it was the energy shift was actually on June 6th last year, but then there came this sort of extra effect by the Venus transit 2 days later. But the energy shifts happen in the Mayan calendar regardless of whether Venus was there or not, but we did have this sort of additional focusing effect, and this sort of, that was like a kickoff, you might say,
yes,
for people to become more aware of this kind of a wave movement, where they're made up, as I said, of these alternated pulses of light and darkness.
Yes.
And actually, it was like a turning point when last year, and since then, since 6th of June last year, it's all been increasing these incoming energies, and so the high point will be on June 1 in a few days from now. And so the events last year, the oneness celebration of last year, it is, it's just like what we're experiencing here on June 1st and 2nd of this year is like the sequel to that event. And you might say the appearance of Venus in the sky last year, it helped us focus. It helped get people's attention to this wave movement of the Mayan calendar. So it's really amazing. Last year it was like a worldwide event of the oneness celebration.
Yes, yes.
And people were inspired by Venus, and many people have this many kinds of spiritual experiences of an enhanced consciousness, of an enhanced experience of telepathy, and like an expansion into the outer world.
Higher development of our intuitive nature.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Because these incoming energies that I'm talking about at the current level of consciousness where we are in, they strongly support our intuitive, our holistic ability. And so now, in a few days from now, we're coming to the peak of what sort of a wave movement that had its kickoff, you might say, last year at the oneness celebration.
Carl, let me ask you about this. I've received some emails that may represent many. I mean, who knows? But I've received quite a few that over the last several weeks, really, in part, I believe it to be related to the solar activity that we've had. But many people have been writing me, telling me that they've had a sense of heaviness, and I'm curious if many of us will sense a transition, if you will, a shift from more of that kind of heaviness to a much lighter, more energy-filled type of energy, really from this day forward. Carl, what do you think?
Well, I would say that, it's been like a climb, and that's my personal experience very much too. I felt like I've had to climb this particular wave movement upwards.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been like just flowing, so to speak.
Yeah.
But in the recent few weeks or something like that, I have experienced now that things have been coming much more easily, and I've been amazed to see how suddenly, how rapidly the plans and the organizations for this meditation days of June 1st and June 2nd, how they suddenly have just appeared in many places of the world in these few couple of weeks. And I think, if we look upon if you look upon this wave movement that I'm talking about as a sine wave, it's when you come up towards the top of one of these sine waves, it's not exactly as deep anymore. It sort of levels off a little bit, and I think we're now getting into we're at the point where it's getting to It's not. I like to give your attention not only to my own website, but also to the website of onenesscelebration.com, where you may click on the British flag, signifying English language, because there you have a map, and I know it's not complete, but it sort of shows some of the places in the world where people are gathering at these dates. And I know there are many other places in the United States that people are organizing things, and we will update this as the information comes in.
Yes.
But anyway, for this particular thing, I then want to point to the website onenesscelebration.com. I think, as you're saying, we need these dates because it sort of helps us see that we're part of an evolution. And I think the fact that from last year and to this event here, there are 360 days. People are now on a global scale. Not everyone, of course. We're talking still about minorities, of course, of humanity. But there is a certain amount of people that are now really starting to live in phase with the Mayan calendar and its wave movements. And you might say this all goes back to the harmonic convergence in 1987, which was a event where the beginning dates of the sacred calendar were celebrated. And you might say this is happening now again because not only is this these days of June 1st and 2nd, not only are they a peak movement or a peak energy in this wave movement that you could see on my webpage calleman.com, but it's also the beginning of a new sacred calendar round, and which is the sacred calendar round are these 260 basic energies of time that the Maya have been following for a few thousand years, and that is sort of the matrix of the energies of divine creation, and so it's an ideal time for people. June 2nd is the first day in a new such round. It's an ideal time for people to go into, to start to observing the Mayan calendar, to observe the energies, to align their lives with this kind of framework of evolution. And because that's exactly what it's here to serve us for. By aligning our lives as individuals with the framework of time Mayan calendar gives us, it sort of brings our lives into a process that is a meaningful process, a process that leads to this enlightened state that we are suspecting that will come at the end of the Mayan calendar, at the completion of the whole process of evolution of the cosmos. And so this year's events, it happens at the very midpoint of the midlight meditation. It refers to the fact that calendar is prophetic. It is because, in a certain sense, these energies, this particular sequence of energies that these different levels of consciousness go through, they will always recur in a certain pattern, a certain sequence. And regardless of what level we're on, it will be the same sequence of energies, you might say. And so this is the reason that the Mayan calendar is prophetic. We know, we have experience, we know from the historical records that certain places in these wave movements are particularly important.
Now, Carl, let me play on words here for just a second. You mentioned this wave, really kind of an energy wave of sorts. And
yeah.
I don't know if you have noticed, of course I do, because that's my kind of my center of focus, that many of the colleagues that I have been speaking with in my research and people I'm bringing on the show directly from NASA have really turned their attention to cosmic energy.
Yeah.
Cosmic rays. Now, it wasn't that long ago, Carl, that whenever you mentioned cosmic energy, cosmic waves, cosmic this, it was very esoterical.
Yeah.
Well, no longer. Science is using, hard science is using those very same words, and they such things as gamma ray burst, which is really a cosmic energy. It's a cosmic wave.
Yeah.
And is it any coincidence, Carl, that we are seeing not only a heightened awareness, but heightened activity in this development of charged particles, of energy waves that are hitting the Earth?
Well, I don't think that it is a coincidence, because it is like each of these levels of consciousness that I'm talking about, it sort of brings a new, it sort of transforms the human beings so that each new level brings sensitivity to new kinds of energies. And for instance, the level that started 1755 and sort of brought industrialism to the world, that's the level of consciousness that also for the first time made human beings sensitive to the fields of electromagnetism.
Yes.
Before that happened, I mean, electromagnetism might still have existed, but nobody was toying with it. Nobody was using it for any purpose. People were actually not aware of the existence of these fields. And so now we're at a higher level of consciousness, the one that started in 1999, and it brings awareness of new fields of nature. And there may be many aspects of these cosmic waves that you mentioned that the NASA scientists are talking about, that only now that human beings actually are becoming sensitive to.
Oh, this is where it gets exciting and fun. Carl, listen to this. This is a guy, he's a well-known professor, highly esteemed, acknowledged by his peers. His Professor Ed Mercurio. This is what he wrote, and I'm going to have him on the show on June 9th. Listen to this. It really goes right with what we're saying. The effects of galactic cosmic rays on weather and climate on multiple time scales. Evidence is presented that galactic cosmic rays, GCRs, are a major forcing agent on weather and climate on multiple time scales ranging from weekly through glacial, interglacial times. Now it's being explained phenomena and observations in the field of meteorology, climatology, paleoclimatology, and paleoecology. Really, Carl, in my mind, that's just the scientific language of what you and I have been talking about for years, what I believe the Mayans are talking about.
Yes, it is. It is. And so people are becoming sensitive to it. And, you know, let me get back a little bit to this with the midpoint.
Yes.
You know, I talked about this, how a new level of consciousness started in 1755 and brought the sensitivity to the field of electromagnetism.
Yes.
And if you look at that particular level of consciousness, it developed through a time period of about 260 years. And the midpoint you might think of as typical of that particular year. One of them is that was the first time when household electricity became accessible anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And it's also the time when the car was invented. And when you think about it, these two things, they might have seemed very small at the time. They seemed like, some tinkering people working in, people not really knowing what they were doing. And then, everything that came after in terms of industrial evolution and development, that was the purpose of that particular level of consciousness to bring into the world. Everything sort of relies on those two phenomena that came out of the exact midpoint, which were, the household electricity, and it was the car. Everything that has followed in terms of industrial evolution was unthinkable. And so now we're on a new level. It has another purpose. Its purpose is not industrial evolution. Its purpose is not primarily material evolution. We're at a higher level of consciousness coming in, where it's all about balancing our minds, of bringing into the intuitive abilities, and it's also about widening the perspective to a galactic perspective. And so those things taken together, it sort of fits very well with this man that you will be interviewing June 9, as sort of an increased awareness of the galactic incoming energies, and the energies in the sense that you and I have been talking about for a long time. Things that are we're becoming intuitively aware of a broader scale of fields of nature.
Absolutely. And Carl, I've seen it go the other way as well. I've written about it and actually have them recorded, have them on record. And that is, folks, that's scientists that are high up in our scientific agencies. Carl, the deputy director of the Soho project, I have him on tape telling me that he does acknowledge Mayan calendar, Hopi prophecy, and other ancient texts, and they are now implementing this in their paradigms, in their formulas.
Yeah.
That is so exciting to me. I remember it was just 5 years ago. If I would have ever mentioned anything like that, they would have hung up on me.
Yeah.
It's really happening. Things are changing.
Yeah.
Now, I just pulled this up, folks. Here's breaking news. I don't know if you've received this. And it leads me to a question to Carl. Folks, just like I wrote in my article I wrote just yesterday, what did I tell you? that there is something in the air about significant earth-changing events to escalate in many ways, one, of course, being earthquakes. This just came out. The title is, just minutes ago, 45 minutes. Scientists say Northwest overdue for giant earthquake. Scientists are urging city planners and emergency services to get ready for expected large earthquakes of magnitude 9 or greater. Now, I won't go any further than that, because we've kind of heard this stuff before, and I believe that it very well could unfold. But here's the thing, Carl. I think this is confusing to some people, not to me, because I'm starting to understand how all this comes together. I believe it's part of this balancing you're talking about, but people read stuff like this about large earthquakes possibly unfolding, about a possible flu epidemic, and they're not able. They think in duality. They see it as, well, Mitch, is it disaster or is it enlightenment, like you say? And I say it's both. Carl, how would you describe it?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's. I would say it's a spin-off effect of the overall. There is this. We're in the speed up of time in the current underworld that we're in, at the current evolution of consciousness, and these energies that are coming in with such a speed, they're being mediated from the Earth. And so the Earth is being activated in a new way because of these incoming energies, whose real purpose is to transform our consciousness towards enlightenment.
Yes.
But as a spin-off effect, somehow these energies are also, which are being brought, mediated, relayed by the sun and the earth to ourselves, to our own minds. They're also, through these sort of this mediating function of the earth, I think what is happening is that there are earth changes happening. But I don't look upon it either as disaster or as enlightenment. I look upon it as a spin-off effect of an overall transformation of consciousness on this planet. And
we're going to cough at each other.
Yeah, right. No, it's something here too. And anyway, so there's something else. One more web page I like to for the listeners to, and this is the web page called livinginjoy.com. So this is a web page of a couple in India, a couple of avatars in India, Bhagavan and Amma, and their mission is to help bring the world to enlightenment by the year 2012. And it's an amazing instance of how influences, like ancient influences coming from the West, which by that I mean then the Maia and the Aztec and their calendar wisdom, is currently being brought into together, unified with the kind of enlightenment wisdom that is coming out of, especially of India, out of the Eastern traditions. And this particular midlight meditation is an occasion where these two influences in a very, very direct way will be merging. And so there will be, on these days, it will not only be a global meditation, but it will also be what is called like a global diksha. And a diksha, it is a phenomenon that's being brought into the world by Bhagavan and Amma. It is a way of transferring divine intelligence. And up until now, I mean, this is a worldwide movement, and it's spreading very rapidly in many parts of the world. And up until now, these dikshas have essentially been given to like individual human beings, unto individual brains, you might say. But what will happen at this particular event, the midlight meditation, is that this dikshas will be used to rewire the global brain. And by global brain, I don't just mean the earth as something like when people talk about the earth, they usually think of the earth as something that's separate from themselves, like a dualistic concept. When I say the global brain, it is the earth including all the human. And so the global brain is composed of the human beings being the nerve cells in a system of mind that includes all the aspects of the biosphere. And so the diksha, the introduction of divine intelligence used by these techniques that will be applied in many parts of the world, it will coincide with these particular dates. So I think this is one of these things that is sort of will be very marked effect of this particular midpoint of the galactic underworld that we're currently in. And so it's a transfer of divine intelligence, and it's a rewiring of the global brain. And it's a rewiring that is sort of leading away from the kind of dominance culture that have been ruling the world for 5,000 years, and this dominance culture is currently being balanced by the incoming energies of the galactic underworld, started in January 5th, 1999, and this balancing will get a boost from this global brain diksha that will be given on these particular days. Okay. So in this way, we don't have to look upon the world as something separate from ourselves. We may look upon ourselves as a global brain, and now this global brain is being rewired using new fields of nature, actually. And, like the consciousness field of nature is being transformed, and the people that will be giving the diksha, they will be applying this to the world as a global brain.
All right. Carl, how can we participate in this? Do you have some instructions on your side or the Oneness Celebration site?
Yeah, there are instructions on the Oneness Celebration site. That's what I would refer to. And of course, it's a meditation where there will be two focusing times for the global meditation. One will be 12 noon Greenwich Mean Time, and the other one would be 6 Greenwich Mean Time. So it's a meditation, and I think it has to sort of, I think a good way of participating is to create ceremonies or processes that are geared towards balancing out the dominator culture that has been ruling the world for 5,000 years. I think everybody knows how to create these kind of processes themselves, and everybody who participates is actually participating, is actually contributing not only to their own evolution, but actually to the evolution of the whole planet. Yeah. One person changes will have, it will be rippling off waves across the planet. Yep. But it's also these coordinated events, the global meditation, the global diksha, and it's all about transforming the global mind, transforming the global brain.
Yeah, I think that's the way that we can reach what I call critical mass.
Yeah.
And that's always been my thought. But I'll tell you what, folks, I think we've come so much closer than just even 1 year ago, and I think that's how it's going to unfold with events like this. Carl, as you know, Earth Changes TV is sponsoring a cruise to Belize on June 12th through the 19th. Of course, I tried everything I could to get you to come. Unfortunately, you're committed to this event. Can you tell us, this is a good time to go. There's about 30 of us. From the Mayan calendar perspective, how is this the timing of this event and what we might expect once we get to the Mayan temples?
Yeah, well, I would look upon it just sort of in the context of this cruise happening a few days after this peak experience. So I would expect this to be a time where, a little bit like relaxation, we'll then be sort of sloping down from the peak of energies. It will be a time much more of integrating of this shift that sort of will be, it will be more of integrating. We're past. You will be past the peak experience, and so it's time to experience the integration of the events that will happening on June 1st, June 2nd. That's the context that I will look upon it through.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. By the way, folks, if you're interested, you certainly can come. We have, it's a Carnival cruise ship. It's a large ship. and there's certainly cabins available. Go to the Earth Changes TV website and click on the banner, Cruise to Belize, and you can certainly join us, you bet, all the way up to, I assume, to the day we ship off on June 12th. Carl, we are out of time, and I'm out of voice.
Yeah.
I want to thank you again so much for coming on the show and helping explain all this to us. You do a wonderful job, and I know I'm one of many who certainly appreciate it, and thank you again.
Oh, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. And I just want to say that I'm very happy that this sequel is happening this year to the Oneness celebration last year, that humanity is getting to experience and go with the flow of the Mayan calendar in an unprecedented way.
Yes, indeed. Thank you once again, Carl.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, folks,
a holistic view of the world, and so people did not separate out what was spirituality and science and so forth. It wasn't that fragmented as it has become. So this is the reason I think we have to go, in certain ways, go beyond modern science if we really are to understand what is happening in the world. Yet I do feel that modern science, it still has the highest kind of accuracy when it comes to facts of all kinds, and so I think we should incorporate those facts. But I think we also today we have to sort of look in a broader, in a more holistic view, where the whole spiritual aspects of reality are not shut out, which is actually what happens automatically whenever you go into a purely academic framework of understanding scientific data. So this is what led me, being a trained scientist, led me into the Mayan calendar. It was the fact that in my own schooling, I could not accommodate for the fact that the world was not just a place of accidents.
Yes.
How my own life turned out to be.
Let me introduce my guest, and we're going to go straight into it. His name, again, is Johan Calleman, one of my favorite people. He's the author of the Mayan calendar and the transformation of consciousness. Actually, he's got 3 books. It's kind of a series, all on the Mayan calendar. The Mayan time sciences describes energy changes in cosmic history and is our most valuable tool for charting the future. Well, folks, isn't that what I just said? I mean, this is what's so cool about this. His site, and I encourage you to follow along if you'd like, it's Calleman.com. That's CALLEMAN.com. And he's got a wealth of information there. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Oneness Festival as well. And I have a special interest in June 2nd. So let's bring him on now from Stockholm, Sweden. Carlos, are you there? Carl, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on it.
Carl, I'm going to let you do plenty of talking.
Okay.
Yeah, so please, just from the monologue, go ahead and make some comments now, if you would.
Yeah, right. Well, just to begin with your references to ancient texts and modern science, I think that in ancient times people had it was like a sequence of all kinds of guiding, meaningful events. And how could I accommodate that with my scientific training that said basically that everything here is an accident? And so this is what led me into studying the Mayan calendar, and that's through that kind of unification of my own previous training as a scientist, it gave me a way of looking at the world in a holistic way. And so I think if we are really to arrive at a worldview that is not fragmented, a worldview that unifies it all, then we'll have to go back to certain ancient influences. And one of the most important ones is, I believe, the Mayan calendar. That's the influence that accounts for the whole phenomenon of time. And so it's been because of the fact that this calendar was burnt by the Spanish conquistadors 500 years ago. It's sort of a piece of the puzzle that was lost and fell under the table, if you will, and it's been lying there for about 500 years, and now it's coming up to the surface. And it's like, you know, if you look as a puzzle, it's one of those pieces that sort of frames the seal. The frames, it seals, it seals the frame, and then once you have sealed the frame, you have all kinds of pieces of the puzzle that you may put in there, and the Mayan calendar, for this reason, because it's in a sense, it's sort of the last piece of the puzzle to seal the frame. For that reason, it provides an enormously important influence for anybody today who would like to unify everything that they know.
Carl, this is... Sorry, folks, I'm going to do my best. Carl, this is why I think the Mayan calendar is so important, and other historical data too, folks, that where science stops in many ways is historical cyclical events. Now, that's not always the case because, you know, I give a heavy emphasis to our paleontologists and paleoclimatologists and so forth, such as tree rings, lake bottom, and ice core samples, yes. But there is so much more than just the mere factual evidence of cyclical events. And I think that in part is the emotions and the transition of living entities such as humans that I think the Mayans capture. For example, Carl, right now, I can easily prove to you that we are in record-breaking times of weather phenomena, natural occurrences, but to people who don't have a foundation of a historical background such as what the Mayan calendar presents, might get a little spooked or think there's something wrong. But what it does for me is it actually gives me peace and really more of a sense of predictability and order. Carl, what do you think of that idea?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of, what shall I say, seemingly chaotic events going on in the world on very many levels. And, you know, if you just look upon it from what shall I say?
Short-sightedness.
Superficial level, maybe.
Yes.
I mean, it seems like meaningless events. It seems like some of them may even be catastrophes, like the tsunami that we saw earlier this year. There's been all kinds of